Good morning, traders out there. It's time to look into the market and see what we can find today. Of course, it's another beautiful day. We'll be taking a look at different stories out there. GME with some Bitcoin news and decentralize everything shirt, rocking it here. Looking around to see what else we can find in the market. There's a little bit of some mixed news out there. There's not too much on the Sunrise report. I need to clean that up a little bit here. We'll get right to the market action. Durable goods came in at 8:30. Really didn't do much for the market, but we are riding high, guys, and it's been a good kind of 2-3 day rally. Now the question is, does this start to get hit today? I think we got to be careful for it. Seasonality is coming into play, and it actually says that these last 3 days are weak. So I will be actually leaning towards more the bearish side, even though the bulls are out there flaunting the chest out. And I can't blame them because it seems like every time we get these market corrections, we come back ramping back. And now we got to continue to watch different sectors as we're seeing the healthcare area start to come down a little bit. We're looking around to see what else is being able to hold industrials. And we're going to talk about 5 stocks today that are on fire, though, for the week. There are some surprising names there to take a look at. We'll talk a little bit more about these with Michael Noss when he comes on. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to get towards the market. We're just going to dive deep, guys, going into different charts, looking at what we're seeing in the market as of late. And if you guys have a stock that you guys want to talk about, now's your chance, guys. Keep throwing them up in the chat. You guys got a stock you want to look deeper into? Well, we can do that. And of course, we can get right to the trading action. So let's take a look here and see what we can come up with today. All right, guys, looking around this morning, I've taken the trade already. I took a small loss there in surge. Still watching this one to maybe make a surge, pun intended, above 250s. So I took a very small loss, $20 loss, but looking for the break above the 250s. We'll see if we get it. Another one that I was looking at was, of course, it was a high flyer that has been making a big move. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But there was, of course, what's the name, man? Sorry about that, guys. I'll have it in my log here. So let me just look back here. Um, what was the name? I'm sorry about that, guys. The ticker, I think it was like TNXP. Was it that one? I don't think it was that one. That's another one that was kind of making a run lately. It was another one of these kind of smaller ones that made a run to the 14s and then started to turn around. But OSRH is another one that I watched there break through 3. And I was watching this one. But the only problem with this one is that by the time I got to it, it was already at like 3 something. Was looking for a dip back down into the 250 area, and it ripped off of that 3. It's been going sideways since then. Made a couple of attempts above these $4, but something tells me this one is probably all done here. So we'll take a look at some other kind of big fast movers today. If you guys have one, let me know in the chat. We can take a look at it. This silo getting a little bit of a rip there towards the 160s. We'll look to see if that can keep going. That one just showed up on my scanner, and we're looking around at the scanners to see what else we can find, right? We'll talk a little bit more about those names right there. Looking around to see what else is out there right now. Looking into the market right now, I mean, there's some news out there. Of course, we can talk about certain names like GameStop, Dollar Tree, Chewy out there, Wingstop out there, names that be definitely talked about today. And we got to watch to see what's going on in healthcare. It's been an ugly move there in healthcare. So we'll have to continue to watch to see how that expands. But it isn't looking pretty this morning. And the big part was yesterday's action. It wasn't necessarily today's action that we need to keep a watch on there. And so I'm a little bit concerned there. It just doesn't look pretty this morning. And we got to see what happens with some more kind of coming in here. One of the things that I would say is watch the big boys, right? We can take a look at the big boys, and we're starting to lose some altitude. We'll go to some of those big names, of course, Eli Lilly, and we can scroll down these names, UNH, right? You can see how they've pulled back, but they're not really kind of creating these new runs, right? Johnson & Johnson, maybe one that looks a little bit better than some, but even that one, pulling back from the 170 quickly to the 160. We got to continue to watch to see how these stocks are going to perform. But I'll keep a watch on them. They don't look too bad. It's just going to be a little bit of some back and forth actions. And I think the important part here is a question. Did we see a rotation away from health going into these names, right? And getting out of what? The dividend players, right? Rotation. We've been talking about how the quarterly end is here, guys. And when the quarterly end comes, it's definitely something that you can see wicked moves. Now, one area that I'll be watching to see if we are rotating away from the kind of the safety trade would be to take a look at what? At communication services like AT&T and Verizon. They're starting to turn around, but AT&T has been as strong as can be. So I'm watching to see what happens in that space, right? Will this start to break down? XLP, will we get another breakdown in XLP? We got to move right into that red box that I've drawn, and that was a little bit of that danger spot, but we're holding in. We could see a bounce today, right? And I think these are all things to be looked at, right? I think there's not going to be a clean market when we're looking at these kind of moves that are going back and forth. And we just got to be on the alert, right? And we got to see what happens out there and what we can come up with. I think it's a kind of a back and forth market right now between the bulls and the bears. But if we look at the SPY overall, I mean, we just keep climbing and climbing. There's no reason that we have to pull back. And I think that's another thing to be thinking about is I've seen plenty of times where this stock does do a move like this, gets to a dangerous spot, and the next day it just gaps up, and keeps it going. So we've seen this happen before. Doesn't mean that it's always going to happen. But if you look at the V bottoms that we've had in the past, and this is important, I think, to look at, is not necessarily where we're at right now, but also just looking to see where we kind of can get some big lift here. Hold on. I got an alert somewhere in here. There you go. Ion Q greater than, okay. So Ion Q with a little lift there. Got to keep an eye on this stock. There you go. Big lift there. So let's take a look at this. This has to be some breaking news, guys. I'm going to try to catch it here. Ion Q, nice move there. So let me see if there's any news out. I don't see any news out right now. Man. Quantum shakes up quantum computing and giant backers with big move. Looks like we're starting to get a nice little move there. Another thing that started trading is Ion NL. So that's one thing that we can look at. Ion NL, which is going to be your 2 times leverage on this kind of stock. It could be opening up today, and we might not even have data for it right now. Yeah, we don't even have data for it, but I'd keep an eye out on this. Another one, of course, that a lot of people have been looking into in this space is VRT. So we'll talk a little bit more about that name, but it's been on the downside there. Ion Q right now getting a little bit of a lift. Got to keep watching that stock. Good lift here, guys, from 26 to 26.50s and very little pullback, if any. So it's definitely some strong buying starting to come in there on Ion Q. Big level to watch, 26.67. That's where I'm seeing some kind of action coming back into it here. And you guys can see here, Ion Q, nice little pop here in the 15-minute, nice little move. We'll continue to see what happens. Look at that 1-minute trend really kind of driving up higher there. All right, let's see what else we can talk about. Of course, we'll get to the sunrise report. We'll take a look at what's moving out there. And of course, we got a lot to talk about as there are some movers and some news out there from GME. We'll talk a little bit about that coming right up here, guys. Like always, we got a lot more for you guys. Sunrise report, of course, is put out on our Discord every single day. If you guys don't get the sunrise report, definitely, you're missing out, guys. You got to go ahead and grab that. I'm going to actually get right to the sunrise report. Let's talk a little bit more about what's going on there and what we can be coming in with. Well, you guys hear my son out there. So he's being a loud one this morning. So if you hear them, hey, let me know. Hey, they want to go trading just like we do. Let's get after it. Guys, first up, of course, stocks closed slightly higher on Tuesday, but we got to continue to watch as they're shaking off the weak consumer confidence data that came in yesterday. It showed us that U.S. consumers' outlook on income and business and jobs had hit a 12-year low. So the confidence is really low right now, even though we're seeing this nice bounce back. So the earnings on deck today, definitely got to be watching for Chewy, Dollar Tree, Cintias, and Paycheck. Those are three names that definitely keep a watch out. Of course, also getting February preliminary data from durable goods. Let's talk about what we got from those durable good numbers. As well, I'll pull in here the SPY numbers to kind of give you an outlook into that. And you guys can see here, durable goods coming in at 0.9 versus a negative 1.1 estimate, prior being 3.3. So, hey, there you have it right there. Supposed to be expected in negative, and we got a positive. That could already give us the little lift that we were looking for. And look at the SPY from the action of the 830 number. And there it is, guys. It is pushing strong again. I talked about how this doesn't have to turn around. It's just more of a sense that, yeah, you are getting to the overbought side, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be today, right? And look at the 830 number. We got a little bit of a dip down, a little bit of a push up, and now we're actually pushing above that number. So I'll do a horizontal line on that wick and just look for the market to stay above that 575.55. If it can stay above that, we're still looking pretty good here as it starts to rip higher. You can take a look to ride some of the momentum, right? GME definitely had the momentum this morning, but now running into a little bit of a wall there at the 30, pulling back to the 28. And they had some news out there. We can talk about it as the meme stock madness is back and GameStop surging after its board approved a plan to buy Bitcoin and stable coins, taking a page from good old Michael Noss's lovely scam alert with a micro strategy. But definitely, we'll see what happens. It's very, very interesting to see them take this approach. Honestly, it's not something that makes me excited, but hey, it is what it is. We'll take a look to see what happens with GME today and see if it can go higher. Dollar Tree coming in and announcing plans to sell its family dollar business for $1 billion. Q4 earnings beat expectations on both revenue and profits. This tells me more and more, if Dollar Tree wants out of family dollar business, why would they want that? They're starting to see the cost are not worth it to keep the dollar stores up. Of course, we all know how the dollar stores pretty much aren't dollar stores anymore. They're $1.25, $1.50, $2, $3. So I think this whole like strategy of using these cheap China goods to get, these dollar deals and things like that are just going away. And it just goes to show us that the tariffs will be affecting things, and certain businesses will see it worse than others. I don't think this is a good sign for the Dollar Tree, and it doesn't make me feel confident about the stock overall. Take a look at the daily chart and how it's been going down since pretty much 2022. We got out of a bear market and went into a bear market in Dollar Tree. That's the truth, guys. And we're down 53% from that. And if you think about it, the pandemic gave it a lift and it did move, but it moved about, right, 92%. Now you're down 50%. Is this when Dollar Tree comes back, or is the leak just getting started in Dollar Tree? I think we were just getting started, and these companies are going to have a world of trouble. We'll see what happens on Dollar General. Dollar General also been down about 72% from the high. Of course, in 2020, in the pandemic, it went about 70%. So pretty much 70 up, 70 down. Not a good sign here. I think we can still see continued struggles in these, of course, discount stores. All right, let's keep it moving. We'll go towards the next on the sunrise. We'll talk about Playtika, PLTK. Not a name I talk about often, but it's in the electronic gaming, and it does like these mobile games. And this has just been a disaster, guys. This is a disaster stock for me, and it's nothing that's going to change. But getting a double upgrade by Bank of America. Don't know what analysts they got on the good side of, but to buy from underperform. Analysts see strong growth potential in mobile gaming industry. I definitely don't see it, guys. Who even plays those mobile games, guys? In the chat, let me know out there. Do you play any mobile game, right? Like on your phone? Do you play any of these? Let me know. I'd love to hear you in the chat. All right. Good morning to you guys out there. Hopes and dreams. What's going on out there? Shane, how we doing? It's good to see multiple names I always love to see in the chat. Let's keep it going. What's going on out there? Vic, Eddie. who do you like high on two? Yeah, it seems like a ton of names. Nice little list there. We have a leverage for Ion 2. Where does it end? Yeah, Rando. The leverage team and not top. And I'm personally a fan of non-leverage names, guys. I can tell you guys, I've been looking more in my statistics and realizing those leverage names I just don't do well in. If anything, those are the names where I've had the worst hits in the last year. So I need to be careful with those. Even like SQQQ and TQQQ, sometimes it's just better to just trade the actual Qs, right? Inflation monster is coming back. Go for Wall Street, but bad for people. Yes, inflation is going to be very important to watch, guys, and it's going to take months, though, to show up. So I think that you can be a little bit bearish in that mentality. I'm more bearish like 3 months from down the line from here. So I still think that we could have like a pocket of strength and then run into a wall again. So right now, it's all about being a little what I call nimble, right? Being able to move back and forth with your mentality, especially in the day trading side of things. We'll see what happens here. All right, let's keep it going. Last one, Chewy. And we got Wingstop we can talk about. Let's go to those names. Chewy was getting a nice little lift here as the Q4 beat expectations, $3.25 billion versus a $3.2 billion. Strong forward guidance for the current quarter. Could have been because I bought a bunch of flea and tick from Chewy. So they're still being able to do it, guys. And like kind of flea and tick prescriptions, it just makes sense to get it from Chewy still. I think this will slowly change though over time. Chewy is losing an advantage over time. And as other prescription models come out, even Amazon, Walmart doing different things that can probably get right to your door. So in the long run, I think Chewy's going to run into some trouble. But we'll see what happens here. Chewy's been kind of sideways for about pretty much 2 years. And at one point, it was valued at $100. I don't even think it's ever going to go back there. So we'll see what happens there in Chewy. It's a tough one, guys. Wingstop. I can tell you guys I've also ordered some Wingstop lately. I've checked out their tenders. And on T-Mobile yesterday, Wingstop was actually giving away a 3-piece combo for 1 penny. So you had to have those T-Mobile deals, of course. So shout out to T-Mobile for giving me those deals. And I like it because I get like free MLB, the package, right? That saves me a good $100 and something. But we'll see what happens today with this Wingstop. Can Wingstop start making its way back? It was up there to 400, cut itself in half back to 200. I think this is one that you can look at to get a little bounce. Not a bad name to kind of keep a watch here, especially with names like we're going to talk about on our top 5 just coming up that are a part of restaurants. There's one name in particular. Let's see if anybody can guess it in the chat. Go ahead and out there, guess the name in the chat, guys. If you guys get it right, I'm going to have to at least get you guys a nice little gift from maybe our swag website. So definitely smash a like for that. Let's see who gets it. I'll see if anybody can guess that. One of the 5 stocks that are on fire that we're going to be talking about, especially with Michael Noss coming up here, guys. All right, it is about 8:55, guys. We are almost to the show. You guys out there, smash the like. We got a lot more for you guys. Let's keep taking a look into the stocks. Yesterday, I was able to bounce back and make us some good money in the VXX on the short side of things. And it's got to continue to battle. Right? There's not one way to win in this game, but I will tell you guys, I've been in the battle and I'm going to continue battling right here in front of you guys live on the funded account, of course. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's take a look at where I'm at in the funded account, the back and forth action that this takes. And it's normal, guys. It's normal to see that back and forth action. And another thing to talk about is that it's not easy to get into the funded accounts, right? Like once you get there, it's not just going to be easy. It's also going to be hard work. So let's talk about it here, guys. As you guys can see, finally into the green again and starting to push. Got up as much as like 130, gave up a little bit of that yesterday and this morning, right? So back down to about 96. So it's not a big deal there. But it's just more about showing you that, yeah, you can go in the red and work yourself back, guys. At one point, I was even down 525 on the funded and struggling also. And that was a lot of times with the down period was coming in and things like that. And all I did was just try to just base hit myself back here. And so now I'm back into the green. Now I just got to continue to base hit. One of the things I did slightly adjust was my risk to reward. I started going down for a little bit more of a 1 to 2 to 1 to 2.5, right? Success rate started to come back. That had gotten as low as 15%. Now we're working it back. What am I doing? Taking smaller profits. You guys can see here from the profits, there's some that, hey, really good trade, right? Look at this trade yesterday. Was able to bounce back on the VIX and sell it for 218 after I took a couple of hits, right? A couple of 44, 49, and then taking a nice trade, right? And you guys can see it. The losses are staying small. The wins are getting bigger. That's what I want to continue to battle. And it's not easy. It's not just one way, but definitely something that I want to show you guys. The process isn't easy, but you guys can battle along with me. So we'll keep watching to see what we can do today and trying to get towards that expansion, trying to expand the account, right? The only way to get after it is to make some more money. Keep pushing, guys. All right, let's keep taking a look out there. What's the question? The question was about restaurants. One restaurant name that is doing really, really well that you might not have thought of that is actually performing, especially this week. GME, Shane, is GME finally getting the move, or is it just still on the pullback there? We'll see what happens. Pull back to 28.10 now. Was right at 30. So we'll look to see what happens with that. The GameStop, guys, I'll tell you one thing. What the hell goes to GameStop anymore, man? I just get my games delivered to my house. But, hey, who knows? Who knows what happens there? And to tell you, to be honest, guys, I don't get many games delivered anymore. But let's talk a little bit about more what's going on in the market. We'll talk about the top 5 stocks that are on fire in the market. And maybe we can find something within that could give us some reasoning or mentality to find a laggard or something like that. There's always trades to be found. And there's 5 names that you might have not thought had the best move for the week. Let's get to the action. Let's start the show here. It's TTP Live. And let's go ahead and kick things off. Let's get it started today. Start that countdown. Wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
What's going on, traders? Let's get it started. Let's bring on the man himself, Michael Noss. What's going on out there? How we doing, Michael?
Oh, just getting ready to short GameStop.
GameStop, man. Stop the game and don't game with me over here. Don't play with me. GameStop making that move to 30. Bitcoin, man. It has Bitcoin now, though. Michael, Bitcoin.
Cool.
I think that just shows me more and more they didn't know what the hell to do with cash. They're like, what do we do? Open more stores, man, because that's not going to help us. I just don't understand the business, man. There's sometimes if you have to scratch your head about a stock, just maybe leave it alone. That's what I learned with GameStop, and I've scratched my head enough on both sides. I've been bullish on it certain times, and I just learned over time just to leave that monster alone. There's no reason for it to be even for my understanding at 28. Like, there's just no reason for it to even be there. So, hey, that's the GameStop story. What are you looking at, my friend? What's up in the market? What are you focusing on today?
Well, I'm just filling out my list now of these potential gap fades. And there's not a lot again today. We've been seeing that's been happening a lot, right? So, again, we talked about this a bit, and we've talked about it a lot, that this is the reason why you need multiple strategies, right? So I only have these 4 that are interesting to me: BRT, SARO coming in, and then GameStop and FCX. GameStop looks like, it's already broke down. Right here would have been the trigger candle for that. So, just one of those things that this might be an earnings season type play, and I keep it on watch and maybe take a trade a day or something until then. So other than that, I just need to keep my eyes on the market, right? So the SPY, we were talking massively about this level right here at 575.50, 576, and we're right there again. And then we've hit that zone a bunch of times. We came up again overnight and hit that area on the futures that I was watching, and then we reversed from it, and now we're back there again. So this continues to be the area of focus for me. If we can get above that, great. If not, then maybe another fade today as well. And then Tesla is kind of interesting to me. This thing's just been absolute rocket ship, like just been soaring here, and then one little day of pullback. I don't know if this is the beginning of something, but some bidding coming in the pre-market as well. So I'm watching this kind of 284-ish area, which is the prior highs back here, and that area-ish is acting as support. So kind of we're back at the level, and when we're at a level like this, it's one of those things where you kind of watch for both directions, right? I don't really have too much of a bias. Obviously, we're bouncing pretty hard here in the market, but this was the area of resistance that I talked about with the AVWAP coming down here from all-time highs, and then we also have January lows hanging out. So when you have a big area like this, it could go either way, and more importantly, it could do a lot of chop action. So I think it's going to be important to kind of sit out that first little opening drive and let the market dance and play for a bit. And then if we're above that level, and if I can find a setup above that level, I'll take that long. And if we're below that level and I can find a setup below it, I'll look to take it short. So it's 585.50 to 585.75-ish, this kind of zone. You could probably even say all the way up to 576. That area again is super interesting to me. So if we blast through it in the morning, then I'll be looking for some sort of pullback to buy. If we fade off in the morning, I'll be looking for some sort of bounce to short. So keeping it simple.
Love it.
While I'm waiting for earnings.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about our top 5 names that have been performing for the week. And I think this is very important to catch, guys. That's something that I think is important, just to see if there's maybe a trend or something specific that's going on underneath the hood here with these stocks. Is it just stock specific, or is it maybe industry wide or maybe sector wide, right? So let's get to this top names. The way I did this is just using FinViz, just looking into like kind of performance for the week. Of course, I'm kind of pulling out like kind of those small names, those small caps, so that we don't have to worry about that. But the first one that came in the name that was an interesting one, it was actually on the playbook 2 days ago, Carvana. Carvana getting the lift right back, guys. And this one's up staggering, guys. It's actually pretty impressive, the run back that this has had in just about 2 or 3 days. It's up 33.1%. So not a bad move there. And this one's coming right back through that 200. That was the level that I was looking at. I remember when we were looking at this to see if it would get the nice little push there, and it's holding really well. So now I continue to watch Carvana as being a name that could perform here. Of course, I need to see a pullback maybe closer towards the 200. But Carvana, really hot, guys. And I think this is just a matter of overall, like I've talked about, I'm still waiting for the used car to be the trade of the year. Not the Tesla, not GM, not Ford. Why? New cars are not going to keep selling the way they are, guys. I just really see that as being the next move. We just can't afford it. And it's as simple as that, guys. And I see the delinquencies going higher. That's going to start scaring people even more. As delinquencies go higher, what happens? Well, the consumer also takes a little bit more of thought process. They're going to be hearing more and more how new car loans are going delinquent. And what are you hearing about out there? You're hearing a lot about autonomous being added to vehicles. Guess what that's going to do to the price? It's going to make it go higher. It's not going to make it go lower. It's not going to get cheaper because it has self-driving. It's going to get more expensive. So I would add another, 5,000, 10,000, even up to like the high end models, 20,000 on the price tag with autonomous being added on that. And that's just going to make it even more difficult to own these vehicles. In the future, I am also starting to see that families, like these bigger families, might have to downsize to one vehicle. That's going to be very tough on a lot of families because the truth is, two vehicles could be over, like, it could be like a mortgage payment here in the United States. Literally, what used to be a mortgage payment, let's say average, let's say $1,500 to $2,000 a month, people are going to be paying that in vehicles for just two vehicles. So, I mean, this is getting tough, and I think that in the long run will affect these. I'm watching Carvana as being the best name, best of breed that could continue to rise because of this. We'll see what happens with some other names there. All right, that's Carvana. Let's go to the second one on the list. Second one on the list is Wayfair. Wayfair? Does this one surprise you, Michael?
Absolutely, because this has been a dog. This was one of those pandemic darlings that just kind of fell apart after that. So I don't know, interesting level of support, right? Could be one of those, could be a short covering rally. If you had been short from up in the 70s or 50s and you saw this support area here, maybe cover a bit there. Maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Maybe just some covering, right? Some short covering coming back. We'll see what happens. I don't expect Wayfair changing anything in the business anytime soon. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is specialty retail, and I think that's interesting because take a look also at the luxury goods coming up next. And just after this one, we're going to the next one here. So, of course, we've done two. Let's go to the third place one. It's going to be, of course, your Tesla Dragon. Your Tesla Dragon in third place here as it's been pushing back and trying to get to 300 right above it there. Tesla, not a bad move there. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
It's a telling time that the quarter down 33.9%, but the week up 27.8%.
And didn't that correspond directly with that viral video of that politician talking smack? Wasn't that one of those that as soon as the sentiment gets extreme in either direction, it's time you start taking the other side, right? And it's really it's one of those. It's hard to gauge that, right, without any kind of mathematics behind it. But as soon as everywhere you turn, there's bad news on Tesla and bad news on Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, that's where newbie traders go, oh, well, I should probably dump my Tesla shares, and that's where professional traders start going, okay, good. Everybody hates this thing. It's probably time to buy. Same thing with China, right? We talked about that a lot. Everybody hated China right after the election. And right after the election, that was the time to buy. So, as soon as you can find the whole world on one side of a trade, it's time to get the other side. Time to put your contrarian hat on there.
Yeah, and don't forget, right? Tesla's biggest catalyst this year has nothing to do with the autos, and that's going to be, I think, the hardest part about Tesla, is that essentially it's changing its business model, right? That's what I noticed. It's not so focused on the autos. The autos are a thing in the past, I think, for Tesla, and I think that's where a lot of people focus on Tesla as, well, cars. No. It's now going to be more about the technology behind it. Tech company, agree. Now I think you can start saying that it's a tech company. For a long time, everyone just started saying that this was a tech company. It was an auto company, right? That's what they did. That's what they were building on. But now it's completely different. Now it's more focused on the software side of things. So keep watch on that. Partnerships, deals coming out of that. Of course, they're still trying to come out with a cheap version, right? A cheap EV from Tesla. I think that's also something to watch for as something that maybe could help. But this is all going to be about the story about robotaxis and, of course, the humanoids and Optimus. We'll see what happens. I think that's the biggest focus here, to see what happens in the story. But like always, Tesla's always about what's the next thing down the line, right? The same way we watched the semi-truck talk for so long. But where the hell is the semi-truck?
It's
And
where all the other promises are, right? That's
you
the
know
one
what I
thing
mean?
you always got to keep in mind with Tesla is if he says something is a year out, it's 5-10 years out. Like how many years did he keep saying, yeah, the Cybertruck's coming out this year?
Yeah, the Cybertruck. And then I feel like they force production on the Cybertruck and force things to happen and come out with a very limited amount and act like it's done. But it's out. It's out there. That's what they did with the semi truck. They couldn't really get it done. So they just said, you know what? We're going to give Pepsi a certain amount of these trucks. We're going to make it seem like it's out. And then we're going to really learn the product, maybe perfect it in the next, couple of years, 5 years. And then we'll start to mass produce these, right? That's what I think happens exactly here also with the robo-taxi. I don't think it's going to be like just from one day to the next, you're seeing 500 Teslas down the street. That's not what's going to happen. So I still think Tesla is in a world of trouble for 2025. 2026 could be a great year. 2025, I think will still be a tough ride. And another thing to think about is interest rates being very high, right? That still affects these autos and these players. If interest rates were back down where I could get a new car at 2% or 1% or even 3%, then yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. But right now, like the cheapest deals are like at 5%, right? 5% is pretty expensive, guys. All right, let's keep it going. Next one up here, Signet Jewelers. Luxury goods doing well in this environment?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Everyone's employed. Everyone's got a job. And we haven't seen a big tick up in unemployment yet. So I think that makes sense. This is also a really beaten up one, though. So some of these might be, we say it all the time, is the biggest bounces happen in down markets, right? The biggest up moves happen in down markets. It's counterintuitive, but it's just the way it works. So same with Wayfair. This might be one of those, you're short from 100. You see it come into this kind of 47 area. You zoom out. You say, if this area is where it bounced a couple times in the past, maybe I take my money. Right? Maybe I take my money and walk away on that. Whoever was shorting for the last one of both these earnings reports. No, that's an earnings report, and then some news happened here. So yeah, pretty massive drawdown from 100 to 47. So again, just like Wayfair, this could be the turn, but I just wouldn't bet overall looking at the long-term chart.
And what about the stock that was said to be the next Chipotle? CAVA, of course.
This has been amazing IPO. It's just been, generally speaking, IPOs, at least recently, and we can chat about the whole reason for that, but it has more to do with the fact that IPOs are waiting longer to become public and all of that. But most IPOs kind of suck, right? This one did what most do, which is there's a stat that 80 some odd % of IPOs undercut their pre-market level. And as soon as it got right back through that, what a monster. From a low of $30 up to 160. What a crazy trade.
Indeed, though, for sure. And one thing that I mentioned, that there's certain restaurants that have been doing decent on the bounce back. Wingstop doing good too. So good numbers this morning. We'll see if these can bounce back, right? They're definitely beaten down. So we'll see if they can continue to bounce. And one more in the restaurant space that's doing well. It's not a name that I trade often, but Eat. Brinkers International.
What
so
do
that's
they own? Holy smokes! Look at that trend.
Yeah, it's actually holding really well. Brinkers is let me get the actual restaurants here. I got you guys in 2 seconds.
$30 to $200.
We should know it. We should know it. Let's see if anybody in the chat know these. What about Chili's? Baby back ribs, barbecue sauce. And Little Italy's, Magninos. So pretty much just some bar and grill categories and casual dining. They got fresh Mex and fresh Tex favorites, including signature items like smoked baby back ribs, of course. So pretty much two major restaurants, one Italian, one of course Chili's. Go get your free chips and salsa. Only if you sit by the bar area, like I used to do.
Revenue growing. We see revenue growing here. You can see earnings growing,
Yeah,
net
and
income growing. Man,
yeah, it seems
What-
like a casual dining segment driven by effective brand management here, pushing to the next level. And they're saying that the EBITDA growth in the coming years potentially increasing its share of EBITDA from 2 to 3% in the full year of 24, plus 15 to 20% post full year 25. So robust year over year visitation trends to Chili's is helping things out here. Chili's.
yeah. What
Who's-
an amazing chart. Both that and CAVA. Those are the two that interest me, I think, the most. So Wayfair and Sig, not too interesting. Tesla, full disclosure, I own some because I bought some when in kind of this zone where the sentiment was just awful. I think on this candle after this big pop here, and just pretty easy, right? Buy it at 250, put a stop at 200, kind of walk away, type of investment. When everybody hated it, again, when everyone hates something, you hold your nose, buys, and to the other side, and then yeah. So I think the two are that I like, or the one that I like is that CAVA from that list, and then also with Eat. Those restaurants have just been on fire. Like, these are the trends that you just don't want to fade in the long run.
Yeah, here's another one, DRI right at the top, right, literally on all-time highs. So it's not like it's slowing down. The restaurants, man. This is something to look at in the long run for if you're watching the consumer outlook, right? Restaurants need to start taking the beating if this is going to change, right? So this is one thing that I would be looking at to say that, yes, the consumer isn't destroyed, right? And so think about those things, guys. These are the things that you want to be watching, right? So when you hear like noise in media, one of the number one things that I like to do is go looking at the price action on those names, right? Right? Don't just take the information, go look at the information and then compare, right? And then sometimes it takes you actually doing the real eye test, like I talk about, the boots on the ground effect, right? Like you have to put in a lot. And there's one thing that I will say, and I've noticed this from a lot of traders that are kind of more your swing traders and make really big bets. Sometimes it's about being patient and looking for a really good trade versus taking a ton of trades, right? And so you have to sometimes do the deep dive, right? Look at multiple variables in the analysis so that maybe you can catch an overall trend move, right? And that can really give you some bigger returns. All right, we'll take a look into the market right there. That's going to do it for our top 5 outlook and looking into different areas. It seems like restaurants have been hot as of late. You can continue to watch those. I still look at my Dutch Bros and a little upset that I didn't grab it in the 30s because I should have definitely had that in the 30s. The bros. That's the last one I'll give there, as it seems like coffee is just taking off, guys. And I can't wait till they. The only problem with Dutch Bros is, man, their franchise ability and how you can get them elsewhere. Because I think if they had slightly adjusted this to being like not so like let's say Chick-fil-A, where you got to work like 5-10 years for them and then you can get an opportunity. All right. Well, if they change that, I honestly could see bros everywhere. Because one thing I notice more and more, these convenience like coffee places have actually done really well. The drive-through style, right? And I think that that's going to be a bigger move looking forward, and trouble ahead for Starbucks. All right, what are you looking at, my friend? What's up on your plate there? And you can see Starbucks, how that's been going. Looks like Chipotle CEO not turning things around.
Not yet. And I think a lot of those too, and I was thinking about that while you were talking. It might just be one of those tariff winner, tariff loser plays, right? If Starbucks, for example, imports a lot of its stuff, it might just be looked at as, okay, this is going to be a loser with this whole tariff information. So maybe you short Starbucks, you buy Bros because maybe they're less exposed to that kind of thing. And there's a lot of guarantee. There's a lot of interns out there that hired right out of university, and their job is to sit and to go through the books of every single one of these companies and write reports about how much do you get from abroad, how much comes in locally, what do you think will be kind of the split there, like how affected do you think the company will be, or how effective do you think everything will be there. Guaranteed, just because that's, if you believe the tariffs are going to keep going, that's the play, right? So the SPY is currently backing off that level that we were talking about yesterday and earlier. So there's a good trade to be taken here, from there all the way into yesterday's highs. Yesterday seems like we're pulling off a little bit there again today, so we got to pay attention to that. Let's go into the Forex factory here, and there's FOMC guys speaking. Oh, 3 of them today. God, stop talking, guys.
3 of them.
Yeah, we're just backing off this level for now. So we'll see if we sell from that level off the open. Again, my game plan is pretty simple here. Right? A sell on the SPY and then a hold over the first bit. And I'll look to short bounce. Vice versa, right? If we break this level and then we pull back, I'll look to buy a bounce. That's essentially the idea there. Just because this level is so important. It's rare that you get a level that's that key to kind of play off of. Steph's talking about RSH.
Yeah, this is one name that I was looking at earlier today. Watched it go through 3, and I think it's pretty much done in my eyes. I don't think it can do too much more. It's a holding company, healthcare sector. Made a nice rip through 3. I watched it through 3, and the action was just straight up. But not too much more after that, right? Like, I watched it go to 3 to 4. What has it done since then? Not much. So just be careful on that one. OSRH.
Yeah, so these are the ones that, again, going back through my fade strategy, I took a big look at and just realized.
Ooh, SPY losing altitude here, guys, right before the open.
These are not for me. For some people, they're not for me. Too old, I think. So yeah, the SPY just pulling back a little bit here off this zone. You see there's a blue arrow trigger. Above yesterday's low. But again, I'm looking for, let's see what the opening drives like. Let's see what the first little bit, when we open up, we actually finally get some liquidity in the market. Do we end up grinding higher here, or if we reject? Those are my 2 games.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. And I feel like right now the market is a little tough, right? You got to just either call the V bottom and then we're going to continue just chugging along, or do we pull back some? I just feel like at the end of the day, we're definitely at the spot where we could see a kind of a red pullback day, especially when I take a look at tons of charts that have come back to a resistance and keep kind of wicking around there, holding in. And I feel like even the SPY itself is at a resistance level. There's 575, kind of 50 level is really kind of being a little bit pesky. Tuesday, of course, we looked at that. We went to a high of 576.41. So around 576.50s, if we can clear that today, I'll be feeling a little bullish. Other than that, I'm still looking for some pullback. And I'm not looking for an insane pullback, but I could see like 570 approach coming back on the SPY and then kind of getting some reloads. We need to put a scare towards the trend line. I think that's what needs to happen, at least for me. And I'm looking for that. That's back down towards like 568, 570 right now.
Yeah, and again, right, that 575. People need any more evidence about anchored VWAPs and their importance. I don't think it's a coincidence. That's the anchored VWAP from all-time high. We rejected it once here already. We're back to that price. And you can see yesterday, right? Well, pre-market yesterday, rejected. A little bit later in the day, rejected. After hours, rejected. And then we're back there as well. So that's a lot of touching of that area. So, again, no question in anyone's mind. You don't need to be a technician. That's going to be important. So we really need to see what's going to happen there. Again, that's why I outlined that plan. That above that to some sort of level, I'm buying pullback today. Below that to some sort of level, I'm shorting it. That's really the idea there. So,
Looking around, there was a lot of concern for healthcare yesterday, as it was pretty weak. So looking to see today if it breaks that 144 on the XLV, that could be that starting to break down, another breakdown in healthcare. And that doesn't look good, right? What do I see there? I see a bounce and pretty much a head and shoulders pattern starting to develop. Of course, it needs to break kind of like 144 for it to even really be complete there. But that doesn't look good at all for me. And it's a little bit of sign of concern. What am I hearing the talks on the street? And there was a lot of headlines around March 2nd. And it was all focused towards kind of budgeting towards Medicaid and what could be passed and what can be not. What do I hear about the conversation now? I put this out on Twitter just a couple of days ago. It was out on it was SNAP benefits and how they were going to take away soda from SNAP benefits. So what am I seeing? What am I seeing is essentially here more concerns of budget in that space, right? And so I think that that's why you're seeing these healthcare stocks start to take a hit here, because they're concerned about that spending. And that spending is very important for these companies to stay alive, right? Let's just be honest. These healthcare companies make tons of money on Medicare and Medicaid, right? And so I'm watching that to see what happens here, to see if we start to see further downside. Could this be effects from JFK Jr.? Yes, it could be. I think definitely people are getting a little bit ahead of it right now. So I'm just watching like a name like Johnson & Johnson. Can that hold? That's a strong name. So if the strong names can't hold, I definitely will start to take a look to see if these kind of break down. And you can see the action, right? Like that's kind of clear as day for a head and shoulders pattern. Now the only question is, can we break back towards that head high, right? Because if you can clear that, you put this chart to rest. But if you start to break that neckline with concerns of more budgeting and the Republicans trying to hit hard on the spending that is going on there, and Doge is coming after things like that, right? So that's my concern there. The spending there is insane, right? Let's just be honest. And that could be causing some of these bigger stocks to run into some bigger problems. We'll see what happens with that. Like let's say if Pfizer breaks the low, another concerning stock, right? The other names like those gene players haven't gotten any bounce. Like Moderna's horrible looking right now. So I don't feel like the gene play is a play that can be doing well in a JFK Jr. ran kind of Secretary of Health, right? The Department of Health there is not going to be looking at that as being areas to continue to growth. So I'm a little concerned here in health. We'll see what happens towards the open. Just keep your eyes on it, guys. 9:30 coming faster than we know it. Let's see what happens here. Market is staying riding high. And a lot of times when we've had these V bottoms, we don't even get the pullback that everyone expects. So let's see if we can continue climbing what they call the wall of worry. We've been climbing it and we can continue, right?
Yeah.
Now let's see what happens.
It's all important, right? 576-ish, 575 and a half, 576 zone. So we'll see what happens if and when we can get to that zone. But for now, right, we sold off a little bit into the opening print and then a little bit of a bounce there. So it's interesting. I wonder, that's something worthwhile observing. When you have sell-offs like that into the opening print, is that them shaking people out, or is that because we know the big guys don't get involved, the real big guys don't get involved until the market opens. There's no liquidity for them in the after hours. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, watching this first overall move. We have, of course, in place the AVWAP fades. So that's the alert for that. So I'll do that. Bam. We only have 4. So it's not going to be too hard to watch through them, but we only have the 4 there. Keep that there. So far, nothing off the open. There hasn't been an opening drive in either direction. So we just need to wait. We need to see. So VRT, this VRT is probably my favorite one if we can get a reversal here. Just because I've noticed the longer it spends under VWAP, the better. Like GameStop broke in the pre-market. So yes, if it breaks again, I might take a shot on it. But Um, yeah,
Ion
SDX
Q
is
ripping there
already
towards
gone.
2750. Caught that one early on in the day. It's still holding strong. Quantum stocks, good open there. Bunch of quantum stocks making a move there. Palantir making a move above 9680s there. Good looking hourly chart. Support around, let me look here. Support, I would say around 9580s, 9570s. And starting to rise there is Palantir. Palantir.
SPY is just flirting. Oh, there we go. So a little bit of
GE
a move.
ripping.
A little bit of an up move there in the markets.
That GE 200 swing, how much I wish I would have had that one. That's just continuing to chug along, man. Chug along.
I'm watching VRT is the one that looks like it may do a little trigger here. So I got to keep that on watch.
It's a retail favorite right now, and there's a reason why. I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's a lot to do with edge computing.
Edge computing. That sounds fancy.
You know, your boy tries to stay ahead of the trends.
So yeah, we'll see at that. The
So
SPY
just to give a quick outlook of what edge computing is, because a lot of people are like, well, what the hell is edge computing? So essentially trying to take away the cloud situation, right? So we have this cloud situation that's going to get so big that the cloud doesn't make sense anymore. So that's when we'll shift over to edge computing. So that's like the shift over from cloud into that maneuver. And so that also involves a lot of like kind of server building, like these big, massive actions. So that would involve also the energy play of small nuclear reactors, that kind of thing. It's kind of interesting how all of it really ties together if you think about it, right? So AI creates more infrastructure need, that creates more basic materials needs. All that basic materials needs also comes into play with different industries and things like that. So you have to sometimes get your grasp on how all these things are going to play together, what's needed first, what's needed second, and then how does the market take that, right? Things like that.
Yeah, so first move off the open here, watching the SPY. We're bleeding down. We're not pre-market lows, but we're below the 2-day VWAP, and we are below this little shelf that's been in there in both cases. So not the best off the open. So
Surge getting the move, guys. That was one that I wanted to catch, guys, in the small caps. It's already making the move here. I'm trying to catch a little dip here. Let's see if I can catch it here. Back below the 260s I would like here. Let me see if I can get that. I don't think I'll get it here. I need it closer towards the 250s here. So I'd like to see a pullback here closer towards the 250s. Let's see what happens on Surge. There we go. Grabbed it there at 254s. Grabbed only about 200 shares. Trying to see this rip through the 270s. And then I could think about adding there and then holding break even off the 260s, 262 area. 240s will get me out on this. So small stop here. Let's see what happens in Surge. Surgeon. I like the name too, guys.
No trigger in VRT yet, but it looks good. That's the only one that's really standing out here. GameStop did trigger to the short side, so I may need to watch that one as well. The problem is it triggered so much in the pre-market. I think that makes me a little bit less interested overall. Yeah, so watching 30 seconds left in this candle. There goes your Surge.
Now I'm watching for the 270 break here. Now we get that attempt towards the 270s here. Looking for a small pullback to add and then hold the rest break even here. Boom. There's a 270 break. Can I get the small pullback? Micro pullbacks, essentially. That's what they call them. So essentially just looking for the pullback action to add here.
Yeah, so VRT looks like it's going to trigger here. So I've just got an order loaded up. And yeah, there's the green arrow. So I'm long that VRT. Stop below the day. Again, targeting the 2-day VWAP ideally. 1-to-1 most likely. Going to start splitting up these trades, I think. Maybe taking half off at 1-to-1 and then leaving the stop out and targeting those big moves if you end up getting them.
Here comes a slight dip. I'm going to be looking to add in just a second here.
SPY recovering okay, right? Came in to test not
Adding.
pre-market lows, but that 2-day VWAP, and then we're getting a little bounce. So that should be good for, I think we're both long stuff, so that'd be good.
There we go. Looking good here for the break of the 275 here. Let's see if we can get that. All right, going to sell into this rip here if I can get it. Ooh, it just came off of that. Let's see if I get one more push up into the 280s here. Come on, come on.
A little underperformance on the Qs, I've noticed. So that shows that there are other sectors out there on the SPY than the SPY that are moving things, right? Because if we were to see just tech rallying, then we would see the Qs doing well. So when I look at things like Tesla.
All right, stop at 275 here, guys, just to make sure that if it rips, it rips. If not, I'll take the money and run.
Tesla having a little sell here right off of the open. So that's something to watch as well, just to see if we get any kind of recovery there in the Qs that might be led by Tesla. Tesla's just a big component to all this.
$60 made on that surge, guys. Just a quick trade there, guys. Not a bad gain there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go make some money, guys. I'm not trying to push it on these small caps, especially as of late. I haven't seen these huge runs, so I'm trying to take quick profits. This one could break into 3, but at this point, slowing down with smaller candles tells me to take the gain. XLI doing really well there, but surge, nice little move, right? In the overall move, if you look at this on the 15-minute, right? So look at this on the 15-minute. We're getting near that 15-minute resistance, and then that's why I'm selling into it. Could it do the continuation through 3? Yes, but we'll see what happens there. Nice little push there now to 290s, 295s on the offer there. So good trade there, guys. I hope somebody was able to nail that surge along with me.
Well, yeah, and that's we've talked about this a lot, right? The tale of two traders, where off the open, especially as of late, things have seemed to have been very, very choppy, right? And then chopping back and forth pretty dramatically. So we've talked about this a lot, both on air and off air with me and Mitch, about coming up with kind of opening scalp strategies, which I have one with my VWAP fade, and then oof, that was a big candle that got rejected there on the SPY. And then a rejection, right? So you find that opening range scalp and you take that and move on. And then you spend the rest of the time going through different charts and slowly looking for potential intraday swings, things that you can hold for most of the day. And we talked about this yesterday too on the SPY and shorting in this level. So you could have just set out your order and set a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 risk reward on that and just automated your entry and just kind of walked away, right? And the easiest form of automation is just filling out a stop limit for entry. It gets here, take a trade, attaching a stop loss and profit target to it. So a nice little bounce here in the SPY, but it got to that level, and then that was a pretty hard rejection. And there's no news, there's no events coming out. There's a Fed guy talking in 20 minutes, but
yeah. What I'm trying to do is what I kind of mentioned earlier, guys. Remember I mentioned the 576 high of yesterday, right? 576.41. So I'm trying my best to not be short above this kind of like 575.50s, right? So I want to, like, trust me, you know, the bear comes in me real quick. But I'm telling myself, respect the levels versus what I want to happen, right? So it's an important thing, especially in a time like this. Try to just respect levels and trying to hold on that. What's telling me also, look at the XLI, guys. I'm telling you, I have a feeling that in a couple of weeks, you're going to hear nonstop talk about industrials and not the tech trade, not the AI trade, guys. And look at that XLI really, really getting strong now, guys, holding all moving averages below it. Now we're starting to cut the 50. We're above the 50. We're above the 9. We're above the 200. We're building volume. MACD crossed over. RSI almost into 60s. Recently was as high as 82, 83. I'm looking at names here. GE is the biggest holding. Look where it's at. It's at highs, literally all-time highs. Boeing still doing well. 183s and holding. 180 pullback like none other. that 180 just seems like a magnet for institutional action right now in Boeing. And that tells me more and more. RTX, the next major stock in the XLI, where is it at? All-time highs, guys. All-time highs. So it's just one of those times. It's one of those times where the noise might get you.
Yeah, another rejection there of those highs on
XLF
on the
jumping
SPY,
high,
right?
guys. It just seems to
hit
me
that now twice. Look at the two topping tails here. So that will be that. I think might have scared some of the bulls, right? Everyone's looking for this level again. The important thing to note is about a level this obvious, right? It's prior lows. It's a lot of things, right? So a level this obvious is that everyone's watching it, and when everyone's watching it, you always expect more games in and around it, as you have different traders and different systems, right? Some people are looking to buy off the level, some people are looking to short off the level, right? So everyone's just kind of messing around here. But I don't, so like I mentioned, I'm taking these kind of opening range kind of trades on these different securities, right? This VRT, which isn't looking fantastic right now, but SARO is the only other one that I'm watching, and then trying
to get the spike.
Yeah, trying to paint a picture here, right? So the SPY again is rejected twice from that level, and it's not what you want to see, right? If you want a level to break, you want it just to blow through, and then maybe to retest later. But I don't think you really want to retest during. So those two topping tails, I think, probably got some of the bulls that are trying to break this level maybe a little bit scared, because they happened quickly too. Is the other thing to note. They weren't. Hey, we hit the level and we kind of came off it just a little bit.
Oil ripping, guys. At least that energy names ripping higher, XLE going higher, and that even trades that I was looking at yesterday, just way above those levels. Gosh, I was looking at the 2730s, 2750s. It's at 2825. So a big move, XLE strong.
I think I just messed up my monitor. 1 second.
VVPR, nice name mentioned by my man Day Trade with Tony. That one's right now towards the resistance around the 434s, but good action today off of pretty much the opening action on the threes. Held that, went through the fours there, so not a bad move. Surge back down to the 260s, so not going to be mad about taking my money and running on that one. OSRH, yeah, down out the gates, straight down on the move.
All right, we're back. Okay, fix it. I hit some hotkey that made Mac OS really mad, but we're back. And so we came down to test VWAP on the market here. Now we just need to see what's the next move. Right? We're kind of stuck between that high and VWAP. And again, could be gains for an extended period of time, but I did expect a little bit of resolution today. The odds of the market hanging that close to an area of support and resistance for multiple days, I feel is pretty low. So I was looking for something, and so far we've gotten rejections from it and little breaks through it. So I think this will be kind of the area to watch. This, again, GameStop would have been the perfect trade. I just wussed out on it. Right, short right at the arrow, target 2-day VWAP, move on with your day. That looks like a pretty good trade. And I don't hear so much from the apes anymore, which actually makes me a little bit more bullish on the stock overall. When people are buying something due to a conspiracy theory, I don't think you don't really want to get involved there. But now they have something, so it seems like at the very least this is just going to be now GameStop's going to be a Bitcoin play, right? If they're holding a lot of Bitcoin, it's going to just move with Bitcoin.
VIX just keeps moving, man. So. VIX now up to 45.50s. I was looking for a run to 45.70s when it was at 45.20s. I was considering it, and that's when I slowed down off of that 575.50 level. We're right at that 575.50 level now on the SPY, essentially going sideways from the open here. I'm just waiting for the first kind of half hour to get done here so that I can start getting after the trend where we go. Right? I'm not going to try to make it complicated today. The trend where we go after, of course, 10 a.m.
Yeah, and we've hit the support area, and now we're pulling back, but this pullback is choppy as well. So a bit of an up move and a bit of a down move, and um, just no real action. It feels like the market's just timid on both sides around this level. If I were to take a bet, I was more looking to this potential short side, just to have that trade of a bounce and then a potential sell after the bounce. That is more interesting to me from the two scenarios that I outlaid. So if we do get a little bit of a bounce now, and again, a little bit of time goes by, and I might look to short some sort of a bounce up in the market.
All right, a bunch of your defensive names doing well today, guys. So XLP bounced back to the 79, so probably not what the Bulls want to see, but not doing too bad there in the defensive names. So keep your eyes on that. Meta already coming back there. I can see it coming back to the 90 MA. That's 611 today. Definitely seeing some weakness there in Meta. And now the SPY starting to break that 575. Apple's still green on the day, but could go red here. And that's why I'm talking about like 90 MA pullbacks, especially here on the dailies. Kind of makes sense to me. So I'll be looking to see if we actually start to leak here. Do we make one more attempt to the 576 before the leak? Could also just ping pong here a little bit and then make the move. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. So we're struggling, and we're back down to the 2-day VWAP. That's where we bounced before. Also these lows. That I don't know. That more felt like a pretty kind of sweep to the upside, where they wanted to get a bunch of stops triggered to the upside, and then they sold down on us. I think is
nice. I got to give a shout out to Steph in the chat. I think she went short after I went long on Surge, and that's what I like to see right there. Things like that, right? Like at the end of the day, the tape was breaking down on that one, and it broke down fast from the 250s, now down to the 226. So if you're able to do that and flip, by all means, guys, I'll never, ever get mad at you. You guys make decisions. If you see that, you want to trade against me, it's always going to be more about you, your strategy, and the money you're here to make, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Snap crossing down through 959 on an alert on my TC. That was an alert for watching for Pinterest. So Pinterest was doing really, really good. PINS. Look at it today. Down she goes. Down goes Frazier. That is relative weakness, guys. And then it usually just goes to the relationship name Snap. So a lot of times if I see one of these relationships doing really well, I set a resistance level on the other one to alert me if it goes through that, right? So in Snap, that was the case there. And Snap didn't really kind of get the breakout that PINS did.
Yeah, so yeah, Pinterest down, market.
Oh, man, look at the VXX
selling.
now. VXX is jumping. There's that 4580s. It going higher than the 4570 level. So a little hesitation there. Might have cost me some cash there. That's where I was liking to play at the 4525 level. Just looking for a run to 4570s. We're now closer to 46. This is why I like playing the VXX, because what was the risk there? It's about 20 cents for a 70-cent move, right? And so that's the key there, right? Is trying to get the risk and return correct. VXX has a tendency of when it pops. And then here, SPY straight down the 574.70 here. Let's see if we get some kind of bounce here, or are we in that pullback type of day?
Yeah, so I have this area now highlighted, right? This was yesterday's low, and then also the pre-market low, just hanging out inside this zone. So we just have to wait to see which of these, if we get in this zone, do any of these act as some sort of support, right? But so far, again, it's playing out with the scenario that I talked about this morning, where we're going to, for now, reject from that level. So I'm looking for bounces back into that zone and potentially take short plays. So, I'll look SPXL or something to that degree, just to see if I can start to kind of lag into a bit of a trade. Again, just experimenting with more longer term, again, intraday swings, coming up with plans like that off the open, right? If this, then this, and then just time to execute when it happens. So if we get a bounce maybe back into VWAP, that kind of area. That will probably be the place to take a shot. Stop will likely go at the high of the day, and then we'll walk away. We'll see what the close is like. VRT triggered out, so that one just gave pretty much nothing. So that was a stop loss there. Looked to get involved as it broke. Perfect plan, and then rejected. Again, GME would have been the one to take today with the sell through VWAP. Now this one's actually bouncing. So I haven't said this in a while, but relative strength in games. Interesting. Check the other ones, right? AMC, no, they're not moving. They're not moving together anymore. BlackBerry, that's just tanking off the open.
Cat
No, it
trying
seems
to
like
take the lift today.
these are disconnected. No relief bounce for
XLP
SPY just
pushing.
yet.
XLP pushing, so dividend players getting a little bit of a pickup there. Rotation coming into those names. SPY coming down fast, 574.50s. We have not looked back from that 575.50s cut down. It's been about a buck cut down. Now I'm looking to see if we can bounce to 575 and even just get above that level.
Yeah.
Leading the
pre-market
downside,
lows, I have just
healthcare,
right
tech,
here.
and cyclicals, guys.
And there's pre-market lows. We're through pre-market lows to the downside. So let's
Palantir get the dump on the bulls on Palantir. Dump on the euphoria names. Look at Hims. That's when they just go after you. They're like, oh, you still want to be in these names? Watch this. They give you a real nice bullish setup on short time frames, and then they just wipe you.
Yeah, overall on the SPY, again, we came down to pre-market lows. We're bouncing a little bit here so far already. So again, I'm looking for some sort of bounce, potentially short into, but we got to yesterday's low as well. So we rejected off that zone. If we remember, look at the daily chart. Always zoom out to make sure you're not getting too reactive. Inside day, right? We're just inside yesterday's range. There's been no movement in either direction outside of yesterday's range. So we didn't break yesterday's low. We didn't really break yesterday's high. If we did, was like, no, we didn't break yesterday's high either. So far, we're sitting with an inside day. There's been no ground gained overall in the long-term chart by the bears or the bulls. We're just shopping around now, unless the Fed guy comes on and says, hey, take a big, the market's going to go higher, or whatever the hell Fed people say. He could save us, but other than that, there's really no economic news or numbers. So we just need to watch what's happening. Are we going to get to yesterday's low? Yesterday's low on the 30-minute chart sitting right down here. So if we do get to yesterday's low, then that might be a little bit of a flush, and then we'll see what happens. We've got the prior day's low as well. You got to remember, we had that really big gap up on Monday into an area.
Flush down, coin, hood. Big flushes there.
That would be a Bitcoin move then. Yeah, Bitcoin selling a little bit here with the markets. I love the Bitcoin safe haven access, when people say, hey, this is a safe haven. It's like, you see
it's jumping, man. Oh,
moves with the market.
The FOMO giving me the FOMO on that one for sure.
So yeah, a little bleed down again. Still an inside day. We're inside yesterday's range. So now, right, this zone that I highlighted, you can see all the areas, and the reason that I looked at this, right, is just we have highs from this day, and then it's lows from this day right here, and then also lows here. So that's why I just highlighted this whole zone. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if we bounce from it. or if we bounce and just slice right down through it, that would give us finally an outside day on the SPY. Because right now, again, if you go to the daily chart, we're just hanging out. We're hanging out in yesterday's range. This reversion from this price, though, does look interesting to me. Again, that's what I was watching for off the open. Now we just need some sort of a bounce that will get us involved to the upside, and then a reverse down from that.
Man, should have been shorting the top 5 list. As it seems like every single one we talked about is just getting walloped. Tesla hit hard. CAVA hit hard. Wayfair hit hard. They're all pulling back, guys. So it seems like today is just one of those pull back days, at least to start the day action. And so kind of was seeing this. I just didn't jump on it too much out the gates here. Maybe the small cap name kind of drew my attention away from the action, but the SPY just keeps dumping here. And a lot of names that were strong are pulling back. Those are the names going back. And I'm looking them to get back there towards like daily 9 EMAs, which gives like Wayfair down to like 35.40. So there's still ways for these to keep dropping. And they're getting hit hard. CAVA also, and even Wingstop, those names. Dollar Tree I saw was up pretty big today, and I didn't expect to see that going up today, but it is pushing, trying to break 70.
Yeah, some good relative strength there. That's more of a safety name.
Yeah, Walmart recovering 85, maybe, as like a play today, and sometimes you got to pick up plays just for the day, right? And just be like, well, I'll go for a safety name on a day like today, and then be back to the growth names tomorrow. That can very much happen.
Yeah, so we made it through yesterday's low. So we've finally broken yesterday's range. Until then, right, everything kind of messing around until then. So we're a little bit under yesterday's low. It'll be interesting to see if we can get down to potentially this low right here from Monday, but a lot of room to go. So I think the move would have been more, and again, something I need to start thinking about and playing with is, again, it's these kind of liquidity grabs, right? Highlighting potential key areas, looking for breaks of those key areas, and then pushes back down as a way to potentially get involved in some of those. The SARO that I was looking at is going the other way, which, yeah. But we're bouncing a little bit. So again, we have this zone here that I drew, probably extended a bit if you wanted to incorporate this pre-market low, but anywhere in this zone I potentially see a bit of a bounce. We're back inside yesterday's range, so this is why you see me, right? So these 3 charts I have here is daily, 30-minute, and 5-minute, and the reason for that is just that I find that if you spend too much time on, or 2-minute chart here, usually spend too much time on spend too much time on this chart, you say, oh, this is an insane, crazy down move, the market's just tanking, and then you go to the 30-minute chart and you go, oh, it's been chopping around this zone for a while, and then you go to the daily chart and you go, oh, we're still inside yesterday's range. So it's good to have these, even as a day trader, have these longer time frames on watch, just to make sure you're not falling into the trap where you think something that's not a big move really turns out to be a big move, right? And that's something that a lot of people, I think, can fall into a big trap for. It's why, me as a swing trader, right, I'm spending most of my time on the very long-term charts. The 30-minute chart is usually the closest I'll ever zoom in. And, I find too much with day trading, I'm zooming into that lower level as well, which you guys might see me just eliminate entirely. I might just continue to look at my 30-minute chart throughout. So far, getting a bounce on this zone. Okay, we're a little under it. Now we've got a bounce to it. Now my question is, okay, where is it that this bounce could potentially end? Because I'm looking to potentially take a short here, like I talked about earlier. If we rejected from this 575 level, and then we start to bounce, I'll be looking to maybe start to leg into a short position. For that, I'll probably use XPXU. Is that one? Yeah, XPXU, and look to buy that. That's an inverse ETF. It's only 26 bucks. It's the beauty of that, or 23 bucks. So, for the smaller account that I have, it's just easier to trade those little guys. And again, the idea would be to leg in, right? It's to have, if the market bounces, this will start to sell as we kind of get into this 1-2 day VWAP area. Just start to buy little bits with an ultimate stop, just right down here at the lows.
Looking at MLGO, it's back up above VWAP here. Looking to see if it's going to spike above 13s or crash right back down to 11. So it's one of those where at least the risk to return could be in your favor. The only thing is it's a fast mover with a decent spread, but it does move towards like 20 cents, and then it'll stay like 10 cents wide and then jump to 20 cents really quickly. So just be careful out there. But I'm looking at it right now as a potential short.
I'm looking a little bit at this one. I hadn't mentioned this one before, but talking about taking some of my day trading or my swing trading stuff and pushing into day trades. This is a trigger that we got a few days ago from the swing trading side of things. You can see quite a bit above. But, watching this on a 30-minute chart, massive level right here yesterday, and we undercut that a little bit off the open. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to be watching more and more for these intraday swing ideas that I'm going to start bringing to you guys and starting to trade myself. So this is something that I know the statistics behind this, that there's a 58% chance it's higher than it was when it triggered there last week, which obviously doesn't mean 100% chance, it means a 58% chance. And then I'm just seeing this pattern on the 30-minute chart of we have a massive level right here. We've undercut that level if we start to come back through. So this might be a very simple trade. And things I'm going to start trading with more is buy the high of the day. If we break through, stop the low of the day. This is kind of Mitch's liquidity kind of flush strategy as well. But again, combining some of these swing trading strategies that I'm doing with day trading as well. I'm watching these stocks anyway because I'm in them from a swing trading standpoint. So why not start playing with them on the intraday strategy as well, right? If it's going to go up between now and the end of the week, well, then got to go up at some point on the intraday chart too. So I just bounce.
Let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens. We didn't even get back to the 575.
Yeah, we didn't get back to VWAP there. So bounce, and then it looks like it's rolling back over. I was looking for a VWAP to potentially maybe get involved, but not looking like we're seeing that. So that was a pretty weak bounce if that's all they're going to give us. Pretty feeble bounce there.
XLP still going higher all day long, so watching that area. Energy also pushing, but starting to pull back. That's a good sign.
Yeah, so now it's obvious, right? We just mark the pre-market lows here, right there. And if we hold that, then maybe the bounce is in, which means that the whole market's gone nowhere. We're still right at yesterday's low, just sitting on yesterday's low, a little bit above it. And that's all they got. This could be another one. They just rip us back to highs. They've done the lows. Now they do the highs again.
I'd love for them to give me a chance on the VXX. Not getting it today. That thing was a lift. 45 towards 46.43. So $1.43 on that. Not a bad move there. Rejections in MLGO now really breaking towards the 1250s here, considering taking the shot, but the recovery is to 1320, so don't forget that.
Yeah, this did this absolute. I saw this yesterday. Just
tough name.
All apart. Like you're talking from what $15 to $10 in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I like the short, but closer to 13s, and then it's just hard because the spread moves down. So when I wanted to go for the short, it went to 1290s, and then I was like, the 30 cents kind of makes sense there, but at the same time, It's about 60 cents. So it's more like a 2-to-1 look towards 12. If I hold it to 11, yeah, it makes sense. But battling myself on the risk to return for this MLGO with the spread that's a part of it.
I'm going to show you guys something here, right? Talking about the different ways to automate, right? And one of the easiest ways to automate is always just to find whatever.
Q's just lagging, guys. Don't want to go anywhere. Nvidia pounding the table on the downside has made it attempt to the VWAPs early and then has been flushing since. There's MLGO right back. So that's one of the reasons why MLGO just right back to the 1290 area, 13s. It's still battling in between there, but at any point can spike above 1320s.
So I talk about, the easiest, if you want to get systematic in trading, right? The easiest way to do it's alerts. Second easiest ways to do it is just something like this. And there might be people who don't understand this order, so I'll just explain it. So the idea was this CRVO, and I explained that already, right? It came from a swing trading algorithm that I run. And, I'm down on it from a swing trading point of view, but just looking at this 30-minute setup, it looks interesting. Massive range here yesterday, undercut that, and then kind of ripped right through. And this isn't that liquid, so we don't want to be super risky on it. But you can just take an order, you can fill it out like this if you have the buying power. So stop limit 891, that would just be too high of the day. And then this limit price says, well, I won't pay any more than 895. I want to buy it at 895, I'm not paying, so if it just rips through the day, then I missed the trade. Then you just attach your stop loss to it, right, at 830. That's it. I hit go, and that order is out there in the market, just exists. That is kind of like level 2. If there's level 1 of automation, and level 1 of automation is just setting alerts and building these little indicators that I've talked about. Level 2 of automation is just using orders like this. I can set this order out, and I can walk away, and it will either trigger or it won't. There's no need to sit there and kind of hit the button yourself and dig through all these things, which is, again, that's kind of the next slight step up in automation. It's not, I'm not want at this point running all these systems, but if you like a stock at a certain price, then why not just put the order up? And if the stock gets that price, you'll get filled. If the stock doesn't get that price, you'll get filled. There's a whole lot that I think people can do to help alleviate their mental burden with technology. They don't do it. As the spies here flirting at lows, hanging out near lows here.
See an Ion Q, but watching the new leverage name, Ion X.
Oh, geez, that's a top, right? They have a leveraged Ion Q. That's got to be a top.
Yeah, they also came out with a leverage VRT, the one that you were looking at.
Oh, right. That probably makes sense. That's
I'm looking at a short. Too. I'm looking at a short here. The SPY could break down. The Qs could break down. I think this could go right back down towards the low, which is 34. So the risk to return kind of making sense here. The only thing is you got to be careful. The bigger spread, about 30 cents. So making sure you get a better entry is important here. So I'm looking to try to get an entry, but I want the bid to be closer towards 37 or at least 36.90s, not trying to get in on 36.50s. And all of a sudden it blows to the 37, right? Then next thing you know, it won't make sense. So just be careful with this one. But I know there's some traders watching it.
So it's an interesting little candle there in the market on the twos. It just flushed down, tapped lows pretty much perfectly, and got popped back up. So the speed at which that happened, I think, is very interesting. Not so much the level, but the speed at which that happens. Now we got to see. There's a little bit of fight going on there. Now, double bottoms are super rare, so I wouldn't expect that something happens like that just to the tick and then I get excited about that. But
Triple rainbows.
yeah, it seems a little bit too perfect what happened there.
There's Ion Q. Nice rejection. I'm going to wait for one more bounce back towards the 37, then the flush down through the 36. We'll see what happens on Ion X.
That's just insane to me.
You know how it goes, man.
They've got the double leverage Ponzi scheme, and now they have the double leverage.
GME recovering VWAP, now holding it in there. 2850s, 2888, starting to recover. Can it get back to 2930s this morning? It's holding well, at least in the open market. That's kind of like a W pattern. But you can just call it like the trend line break held on throwback look off the 2850 look. Nice little breakout above the 2850s there. Yeah,
again, just I don't know when the last time I ever said this. We have some massive relative strength on GameStop versus the market.
The stop trying to make the move today, even though the market's going down. MSTR is getting the hit too, so that's the interesting one there. It's getting the hit with this, so I'm a little confused on this. Roaring Kitty, you out there?
Well, that would really light a fire. Although the dude seemed to have been losing his mojo the last couple tweets that he did. No one seems to really care anymore.
Yeah, it's like at least give me like 2 or 3 in a row. Give me some hype. Don't just give me one and go away for a month. And that gets boring real quick. Got to be like Trump. You got to tweet 9 times at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and then it's a little different.
Well, and I saw a pretty good analysis that just showed every tweet and the bump that happened in GameStop, and just each one was lower and lower and lower. So people were getting frustrated that he wasn't making them the money. Right? The first time he made everyone a bunch of money, and then the second pump and dump, not so much, and then the third pump and dump, not so much. But
they're hitting Ion Q now. It's just was one of those where maybe I should have just gone after it, but the spread was hard on that one. I went right back down to the 26 spot. I was looking at, of course, Ion X. It's kind of funny. The leverage one trades over the price right now, so why would you use it? I don't understand, but hey, that's just how it goes right now. Ion X right back down to the 35.10s there, and we were looking at a rejection on around the 37. So $2 on that trade idea that I was looking at. The hard part was a 20-cent spread and about 20 to 30-cent risk there, right? So essentially, I kind of combined those, and it would be like 50-cent risk there to make $2, which wasn't bad risk to return. It was just a tough one.
You get a little bit of bounce here. The market's holding around this zone, holding this level.
Yeah, can we get a bounce back? Can we just go back to like 575, 50s? I don't need a green day. I just wanted to come back. Give me a chance.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for the same thing. If we get into this zone right here, 575. You have the 2-day VWAP. You've got the prior lows right there. That might be an area that I look to take a little bit from the short side, just to see if we get a push there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the VXX to see it rejected 4650s there. A pretty strong rejection through the 9. I wanted to come back and try to clear above the 9 again and then reject again. I could essentially short the VIX there and look to see if the SPY can come back here. I could go long on the SPY there too. That's another way of doing it. Yesterday, I made my money on the VIX on the short side of things. So just trying to see where I get after it there. A lot of it is waiting for that 9 EMA to break and then giving it one chance to get back above.
Love these swing ideas. I can't wait for better and better swing trading stuff. So what are you doing here? So GRPN to the short side. GRPN. All right, a little bit overdone play, looks like. Where are you seeing this resistance? Oh, I see it. Go to the weekly chart. Yeah, there's a bunch of resistance up there. Had a big move. See that? Oh, looks like a good play, right? Overbought into a little resistance zone. So you got tight risk, and if it falls and gives you a couple days down here, be a good little return. I like that. SPY is helping you out from the short side, that's for sure. Still,
Yeah.
we're in a lot of
XLP
top.
has been doing well. Swinging that group on.
Yeah, that's a good little trade. No, I liked it. I went through the weekly chart and monthly chart there. It looks good.
All right, there's a little spike there for the VXX about to get hit. I'm about trying to hit it here on the short side of things. The SPY could give that attempted breakdown look right here. So I'm trying to see a double or triple bottom here. So I got to kind of be a little bit patient here to see if I can get it there. I'm going to give it the chance to start doing the wick action towards the 15 minutes on the SPY. You can see it on those 15-minute charts. There's a couple of wicks down towards like 573.50s, but all reversing back. Right, so I'm watching smaller body here, not a close below 573.50s, and reversal back through 574.
Yeah, really, this level is a battle. Right? There's a war going on at this zone right here. So we need to see a lift from there. So it doesn't. I don't know. It feels very bear flaggy. Just the fact that if you look at all the topping tails and these candles, right? Big one here and a big one here. So anytime there's a buyer that came in and tried to push it up, that they failed for now. So I'd watch these wicks and just to say if we can get above these wicks, then maybe it's going to get a little reverse there. But we just had a bit of a support zone. So the other thing that kind of worries me is that we're right below this high right here, right below this or right before this low, yesterday's low. So we keep trying to get above yesterday's low and keep failing to get above yesterday's low. So if anything, that makes me think that a potential breakdown could come here. So I'm watching that pretty closely. No trade on currently, just waiting for something to come out. And
sectors holding the market right now. You got energy, you got industrial still in the green, financial still in the green. Defensive names kind of holding things up also. So there's some rotation that's going on underneath. It's not just all red. Red is in healthcare, cyclical, and technology. Basic materials is almost unchanged. So essentially, all the leak is coming from technology. That's down over 1% from the open. Of course, the cyclical names taking a hit too because those go back and forth and have high beta, right? And so those are taking definitely a hit there. But mainly, this is just a hit in technology. This is why I talk about how technology is just not my focus for the rally coming back. And it's more in the industrial space. It's more looking at Boeing holding on today. Because if those let go, I think we still come down a significant amount. So XLF has been holding all day. XLI has been holding all day. If those go, so will I think the market and continue on the fade down.
Yeah, the SPY is slowly bleeding here just a little bit. Oh, there's through that zone. Ooh, happened that quick. So we did get that punch. So that did end up being a little bit of a bear flag action. Made new lows there, and we are through pretty decidingly now through yesterday's low into yesterday's pre-market low. And then from that, I get 572 is interesting. And then we're talking 567. That would be a pretty substantial one. So looks like I was right on the rejection from that zone, but just didn't give me a chance to get in.
Bobo's kicking at me at that 45.25 level now, 46.60s on the VXX. So yeah, definitely maybe taking that opening trade there. But the SPY not coming back. I thought at least it would come back to 575. We are not getting pretty much anything on the bounce side of things. And now the financials are starting to struggle. So is the industrials are starting to struggle. I think even the bulls in those areas are starting to let go as they see this down move. Now let's see if we get the quick reversal back down in the VXX, but it doesn't seem like it right now. I need to see a 9 EMA break again, right? That's the important thing.
Yeah, that's the big watch for me there too, is that we have this we have this level that we broke. Question is that like one of those liquidity grabs that we saw up here? We're just going to rip right through it, or is that all over? Is that it for the day? So I think that's going to be an interesting watch to see if there's a lot of they tried in this zone, and it just looked like, again, I talked about how double bottoms were very exceedingly rare, and especially perfect double bottoms like that. It's not something that I'm going to take a play off of myself, just because it's so rare that I just don't think the odds are in your favor taking a trade doing something like that. Getting a little bit of a bounce here, so we'll see. Nope. Go too soon, right back down. So now it's where you zoom out and start highlighting other levels. This level is kind of interesting at 572. And you start to see, okay, well, what happens if we get to that zone? Because it doesn't look like those, if it's a liquidity sweep, it should happen very, very quickly. There should be a buy program that gets turned on like pretty much right now that pushes us right above that zone. Otherwise, it could be a trend day to the downside.
Man, a miss on that Ion Q or Ion X, whichever one you wanted to trade there, but that bounce and fade off of that, blowing through the low there, and it was good risk to return. It was just a tough trade to take, but look at that Ion Q reaction, and then watch how it's not just this, right? Look, QUBT, QBTS, right? HIMS, right? Palantir. It's a similar trade, guys. They're just hitting the euphoria names. They're like, oh, you think this is coming back? Oh, here you go. You want to dash for trash? Well, I will give you the trash right back to you. Now, if you're in high quality names, I can't blame you. But if you're in these trash type of names right now, because those are the euphoria names, not the place to be, at least I think so, because you're going to get these moments where the Bears are winning today, at least in Palantir. And a lot of that, I think, is if you're only looking at the 15-minute chart and shorter time frame charts and you don't see the down action today, you just see this up action, you're just like, oh, this looks good. Nice up action, holding off the 95s, 96, trying to make the break, and it gives you that fake out to the upside and just wipes you, right? So these are probably the names for me that I would stay away from. For myself, I just can't go looking at HIMS. I can't go looking at Palantir. I can't go looking at these quantum names, right? IonQ, big wipeout look, all doing also those fake to the upsides, traps, bull traps, essentially out the gates today. Not what you want to see. All right, guys, starting to at least see the VXX start to slow down a little bit here. This is where I'm going to take my bet to see the SPY come back. Not a big amount, but just some here, guys. So let's see what happens.
Well, yeah, and what Mitch was describing there, for those who don't know, that's beta. That's the idea behind beta, is that, right, you have, if you're playing something like a Palantir, if the market's ripping, it's going to move higher. It's going to be more substantial. And if the market is falling apart, it's going to fall off quicker, right? So that is the simple definition of beta. You probably heard the term high beta, low beta. Just the way it works, right? Low beta is going to be your Walmarts and your McDonald's and things like this, that if the market goes up 20%, maybe they go up 10. And then the other way around, your high beta stocks, your Palantirs, where if the stock market goes up 20%, this thing doubles. But just like leverage, beta is a double-edged sword. So it hits you harder on the way down, hits you more on the way up. It's why you'll see a lot of traders gravitate to a lot of these names, is because they're simply looking for that beta. They're looking for it's a form of leverage. You know, if I just want market returns, well, I'll play the market. If I want something that's going to move a little bit more when I'm right, but I have to worry about it moving more when I'm wrong, then I'll play a Palantir, right? I'll do a higher beta name.
Gotta be careful here. I got a bad fill on that VXX. The bid just dropped right when I went to go hit the order. That's my fault. Should have done a limit order at the 55s here. Got a bad entry there, guys. So got to be careful here. Protect myself on this. This is like one of those where you instantly know it's like not the good entry there. Just chase on that. And it was just because the bid dropped out right when I went to go get it. So looking to see if the SPY can start to come back here. If not, just got to get out and then look to get back in. But a little frustrated on that bad entry there.
Yeah, we are below that major level for sure. fighting, right? It's fighting for a little bit of up action. And this doesn't feel dramatic to me one way or the other, just because, again, I always have this zoomed out look of the daily chart. We are still just very slightly under yesterday's low. We are down 0.5% today. If we even go look, the Qs are down 1%. And in this more high
Out of that
data
VXX.
market, this is what's expected, right? You can always do the VIX trick if you want to know about how violent you think the market is, right? So you go to the VIX, and then you take whatever number it is and you divide it by 16, and that will show you what is the expected move for the market. There's a lot of people don't know about this, right? But you take whatever the VIX is, VIX divided by 16 equals daily market move. And this is kind of what is expected daily. So if you take, right, it's 17 right now, and then you divide that by 16.
JPM back at highs, financials starting to come back a little bit.
Equals 1.06. And that's what is expected for the market, is a movement up or down about 1.06%, or roughly 1%. So then I look at it, and that's what the VIX is telling me. So then anything inside that move, I just look at and say, oh, that's a pretty calm move. So I wasn't sharing my screen for that. Hold on.
So I got out of the VXX there. It's still going down. I would still be in the green there, but just a bad entry just put me on concern there. So I just cut it there versus trying to jump into a trade and stay in a trade on a bad entry there. We'll see what happens. SPY is getting that bounce, right? I'm looking to see if it has to go a little far to make a really nice gain there in that VXX short. 575s on the up. We'll see what happens around 574. That could be the first resistance area.
Yeah, so that's just the little note that I wrote up if someone wants that, or take a screenshot on it. But again, you can Google it. That's the math behind the VIX, right? You take the VIX, divide by 16. That's what we expect the market to move daily on. So if we ever see a VIX of 30, that's why it's super rare. And that, because that would be a 2% daily move in the market. And that's why, again, the VIX doesn't really move that much, right? It just stays, because it's not a trending instrument. It is this is how many people are buying puts on the S&P 500. So just in case you didn't know, well, you know, that's the math there. There's like some sort of square root of 252 you can do as well, just if you want to get real fancy with it. But I don't think you have to do that. IWM is getting hit worse. SPY is starting to bounce here, looking okay at this level. The level, you can see the line that I drew, that was yesterday's pre-market low, and then below that is 172, and that's just the area that we pulled back into on this day before rallying into the close.
All right. I think we got a little bit of some bounce here, and then around 11, I think we're going to get some resolution of trend here. So you've got to be careful with trying to jump too much on this trend early. I feel like one thing that's telling me that is I'm looking at the DIA, of course. That's going to represent the kind of the industrial average, the Dow Jones, right? And I'm looking at that as being the area that could be weak, at least seasonality. That's what the one area that they were looking at. And I'm looking to see if maybe a trend line approach happens here where we get another bounce to that trend line up. And then I want to see what happens from there. Do we get a breakdown back down below 427s or a breakout above 428s? I'm keeping an eye on that to try to determine what's going on in the market today. That's DIA. And then we'll see what happens with the Qs and the SPY.
The Q is definitely relatively weak to the SPY all day. And again, that's being shown by the financials in particular. You can see the heat map here, right? Financials are doing fantastic. Energy is doing great. Some of these other things like healthcare also doing great. Health technology, I don't know where that's different, but that's doing great as well. So a lot of these sectors are doing fine.
A good short in basic materials today off of copper, aluminum, gold, all down.
Yeah, it's really the technology with Nvidia, and then the big cap tech names are getting hit. But a lot of the rest of this is doing fine, and that's why again you're seeing the Qs relatively weak, and then you go into the SPY showing some strength, and like Mitch was talking about there with the Dow. The Dow is again healthcare, financials. I think the biggest component is healthcare, and then next is some financial, and then it's a bit of a weird index because it's price weighted, something we could talk about later. But it's just showing you the tech exposure, right? The Qs are obviously very heavily tech exposure. The Dow is not at nearly as much tech exposure, and then somewhere hanging out in the middle, that's where the S&P 500 lives. Is quite a bit of tech in it, but not as much as the Qs, but way more than the Dow. So that's why it's one of those. It's a slower index, so it's for people out there. It's a lot of people out there trading indexes and futures. You'll see a lot of people trading the Dow. Will trade YM, I think, is the futures contract, just because it's much slower. It's much slower of a vehicle, just based off of what it's holding.
Interesting gap to maybe play on the downside. TNXP. What do you think about that one, Michael? I think you'll like this setup. At least it's interesting to me. It's a biotech with a big gap. Tendencies of gaps always to get faded. At least pushes up have been faded as of late. This thing.
Yeah, that's this one. I forgot about this one. The high price is $275 billion a share.
Yeah, and that 29 just seems prime right now to give up after a quick move to 3150s and above. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a tough trade for sure.
Well, and it's funny. This strategy is actually on. I have a list longer than anyone could ever imagine of strategies I want to test, and this one is one of them as well. It's looking for a gap, and looking for a gap that is maybe held for a couple days. You can see yesterday's candle was inside this candle, and the day before. So we're just hanging out inside this particular range right here, and using this as a potential failure point. Right. So I was thinking more from the swing trading side of things, but again, obviously day trading may work as well, where you look at something. I always like when people have forgotten about it. I think those are when you get the best trends. The day that something happens, you get a lot of chop, you get a lot of fight. And so in this case, if we end up failing right in this zone, this kind of 226.50, that's a trade that I'm going to look to start adding to the repertoire, right?
Yeah.
This is again the difference between purely discretionary traders and I think and professional traders is I'm just thinking about systems, right? I took my system today. Again, I can't wait till I do more automation on this. It would have made money in GME, and then it would have lost money or did lose money in VRT. So VRT might be another chance to get in there. The other thing that I've been thinking about doing with some of these is using longer term candles as well. Instead of 2 minutes, using 5 minutes. And seeing what happens there, just giving them a little bit more time to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so start, always thinking systems. It's one, I think there's just a book. I think I'm trying to find it, but I think it's just called Thinking in Systems. Thinking in Systems. Yes, by A Primer. Oh, a primer. Oh, Jesus, that was dumb. Delana Meadows. This book I read, and this probably is one of the biggest trading changing books for me personally. It's this Thinking in Systems. And the idea was that nothing, basically, you can't predict anything, right? There's a lot of the premise behind the book, but if you can understand long-term systems when it comes to anything, this isn't a trading book, but just about this in general, and how everything's kind of a system. Right? We've got to play everything like it is. Like there's many things attached to different things. That's why, again, game plan with this day trading thing. I'd love to zip down the road a year or 2 years from now, and I've got 10 different systems that I trade, and they're all just taking care of themselves. And then the guest that we actually have on tomorrow, I think will be really exciting about this. He's co-host of a podcast that I do about systematic trading, and he has been trading. Mitch, you like this? He's been fully automated trading, day trading exclusively. I cannot convince him to swing trade. I've tried very, very hard. He just won't do it. Day trader only, has traded in a fully automated way for, I want to say, 15 years.
Wow.
Great. Hasn't placed a single order himself from a discretionary trade in 15 years. It's just all, he's got 20 different intraday trading systems that he runs. And very, very well doing it. He's the ex-CPO of Trade Ideas, so he basically built all of the software from the ground up before he left. And yeah, very, very focused on that side of the market.
Can't blame him. One of the best in the biz.
Yeah, he wakes up every morning, sets a bunch of orders. He's off his screen after the first 30 minutes of the day, and then comes back when the close and see how everything does.
Fix holding in here, guys. We could be for some more leaking here, guys. I'm not seeing the strength coming back. I'm not seeing the bulls wanting to come back. I'm not seeing them buy up the tech names. I'm seeing the weakness there. I'm trying to get through a little bit of a scare here, something like maybe the SPY spikes a little bit and then comes down, right? So I'm looking for that kind of liquidity before this, but the VXX is just holding sideways really well on the 9 EMA on the 5-minute. So would love to see a dip towards the VWAP around 46 and then seeing the VXX jump back. That's what makes sense for me. So the SPY do a quick move to like 574.50s and then reject. Just gotta wait and see.
Yeah, 574.25 is VWAP now. So that'd be maybe an interesting one, interesting zone as well.
So now that I see that leak happening, a lot of times when I've been lately seeing these, I'm telling myself, okay, so that's what I'm seeing like work out. Now give it the chance for the scare out, right? Give it that chance for that psychological scare out, and then see if you come after it, right? So we'll see if we get that little bit of a move here, where for a second there, it looked like everything was going to drop. Now the VXX dropping, and that's what I want to see. And then I want to look for that quick sweep, right? Where it actually makes the move and it's a quick move, right? That's what has to happen. XLF holding in, XLI holding in. So the sectors that I've talked about that need to hold, they're still holding. That's good signs for the market overall. Like, I know that we're getting a pullback day. Don't get it twisted, though, that I think Michael and I are still in the camp for this bullish kind of recovery right now. It makes sense to get some pullback off of this resistance, and how Michael brought it in, right? The anchored VWAP from the top, right? Makes sense for some profit taking to come in. And now we'll see, when does the dip get bought? I think that's what the questions are really about.
Yeah, I say it all the time. There's kind of tale of two worlds here. Either we when something's rejecting from a level like this, right? Is there more people who are aggressively shorting it and getting out of their position, saying, okay, that was it. I think that's the whole bounce in the market. You know, we're moving to new lows. This correction that we have is going to become a bear market. Or are there people who are really FOMOing in and scared they missed the initial move, and then they have to start buying and getting involved? That's what I'm watching for. And if the buyers come in kind of anywhere before even this gap fill right here, if this gap doesn't get filled, that to me is very, very encouraging that things could push up. At VRT, I may take another potential shot here on the VWAP fade idea, where we're looking for this to close. So I may just do a 5-minute close, just do another shot just to see, hey, the first one lost, maybe we take that one just one more time just to see. And then if that ends up being the case, it might be one of those. I might just be trading these things too early as well. So
small cap bet, if we could get some up action, doesn't look too bad. QNTM, guys, I've been holding all day long. This is one names that we saw run in the past here. It has a nice daily chart starting to break back above 6, going to 7 today. Only question is it really going to do the breakout, but it's not a bad look off of 7 there. QNTM, just to bring a small name in.
QNTM or quantum. stuff.
All right, guys. VXX trying to make the move. The SPY did do a little wick up there. Didn't get much, man. Didn't get much. So I might take this shot here back to the highs, but it's not much either. It's about 40 cents and about 20 cents on the risk side. So pretty much a 2-to-1 look here on the VXX to the upside. So that means SPY to the downside. But you can see how it's slowed down, right? So I'm waiting to see the ramp back, and it's the speed isn't coming back. It's slow down, it's slow up. And so essentially trying to work through this. I'm waiting to see some ramp up period. But QNTM, definitely not a bad name there on that Quanta Bio farm that's coming back today.
Oh, this is, the one that has nothing to do with quantum computing, but still rallies with quantum computing.
It's just the name, man. It came up on the scanner early, and I was like, I'll just keep an eye on it. I'll see what it does. It's holding the 690s pullback pretty well there. It could break into the 7s, but hey, SPY still holding in there.
Not a bad daily chart, right? Had its
No,
initial
it's
pop,
not the
came
worst.
back. It's been holding this. Kind of squint to see it, but it's like a cup and handle style type pattern. You gotta look through that a bit.
Yeah, and the daily volume picking back up, right? I think that's an important thing too. Is you need to see some daily volume pickup, right? So what I would be looking for is at least over 1 million. Right now, it's only at 353,000, right? So it's not massive on the jump yet. So I'd be waiting on this one. This is one that I'd add to like my small cap watch list. Next couple of days, this one could really make a move, or let it show me the move, and then I can maybe catch pullbacks, right? So that's what I'd be looking at here. VXXX, I'm battling myself not to just get back in on this 4620s, but just seems like we want to go lower. But the key there is we haven't gotten the next move.
Yeah, this bounce, I don't know, the SPY still feels kind of feeble, right? We had one bounce candle, and then I'm doing this by looking at the tails, right? It's not fancy, but every time you see these tails, it pops up and then sells off and then pops up. And so now it's 3 topping tails in a row. You just need to see those tails start to reverse, because that shows that there were sellers in that area. So I tried to short Tesla Monday. It looks like we could be bouncing a little bit here on Tesla actually too.
Yeah, I'm at the point where it's just like, I have some opportunities. There's always opportunities in the market, but are they any A+ or B+ setups? Even that VXX, multiple bottoms on the 5 minute to around 4620s. It's just not an A+ setup, right? I would like it more like at 46. I'm risking off 45.90s for it to come back to 46.80s, right? Because then it's 80 cents on the upside, 20 cents on the downside. That makes more sense to me there than 40 cents for 20-cent risk in a market where essentially the SPY could change tunes today. It could come right back. It's just kind of slowing and hanging out here, and we're getting closer and closer towards 11. But very few dip buying being able to hold today. One thing that is also a little bit of concern is I'm starting to see, like, I'm looking at the bigger boys. I'm watching Microsoft come back a little bit there. Meta is just kind of hanging out, not doing too much there. That one definitely pulled back. Apple kind of still not really breaking support, just hanging on support. So these big boys, I think, are important. Nvidia is pretty weak. That's probably one of your weakest stocks today, down to 115. I'm telling you, man, I feel like Nvidia is going to get a 50% haircut this year.
It could. I also think Nvidia could just do nothing forever. I think that's a big one as well.
To me, it's like break it to 100, right? Put some real scare in the market. Make that whoosh type of look to 80, 75, somewhere in that range, and then you can start working its way back. I've a look on the waves of how this stock came out of, like, kind of the bottoming. There was 1 wave, 2 waves, 3 waves, and 4 waves into that 140, 150. After the 4th wave, we usually start getting that kind of like ABC correction. And that rejection of 141 is a real negative one for me. And now you can't get back to that level, right? Now you're rejecting in the 125s and 120. To me, this is not a bullish chart at all. To me, it's very bearish and showing more structure of coming down towards that 100.
Yeah, it certainly could. I'm thinking just more from the everyone knows what Nvidia is going to do now. Like, I think we get this is a bigger chat, but what we're always looking for is market inefficiencies. So I always look at something and say, okay, in Nvidia, is there any kind of inefficiency here, or does everybody know every dollar Nvidia is going to make over the next X amount of years? And I think everyone's going to know exactly what Nvidia is going to make over the next X amount of years. I think it's one of those that the saying I always repeat to traders that I talk to and mentor is always, if you know it, everyone else knows it. It's already kind of priced in. And the more that something is followed by Wall Street, the more everything is baked in. And so with something in Nvidia, I think like they know exactly what they're going to make over a number of years. So I'd say, here's my bold statement, my hot take: whatever Nvidia is going to do, it's going to be slow and boring from this time out. I think that's actually going to be the max pain trade as well, because people are used to Nvidia being this thing that, oh, look, it doubled and tripled and 10x and all these crazy moves. Yeah, but they told you what they're going to be selling over the next 10 years now. Unless there's some major shock there, I don't think there's too much.
All right, guys. Not much going on there. I'm still seeing weakness. Here comes the SPY now down. XLF back to the 9 EMA. XLI starting to break support. So if those sectors go, I just see the bleed for the rest of the day. I'm not seeing tech come back. That's still down big and down in the last 5 minutes. It's not coming back at all right now. It's just a leak there. Big part, solar. Solar getting the wipeout look there too. So not looking good there. Seeing names really down.
A little push down there. So again, I'm moving this line down because I think this low, especially caused by a big wick like that, that's what I'm watching. That's what's most important to me right there.
Nope.
It's just, can we get through this little zone? Because if we can to the downside, then potential another flush, just like we had right here, just like we had before then. If we're going to get something here, we're going to if we can bounce before this wick, maybe that was the low of the day, but we need to see if that wick rejects. Overall, again, to zoom out and have everyone do a big deep breath, right? This is the daily chart. We hit this level that was very, very important level. It's something that I should have just had the guts when we did that liquidity sweep in the morning and we started to sell. I should have just punched in there with a stop to high of the day, and that had been my shot for the day. But we're just rejecting off this zone. So, I talked about this before, this is very important. I kind of expected this reversal here because we were up so much, we were into that area. That's overall expected. I think the question more is, if we pull back, how deep do we go? And if we get into this gap, like I talked about earlier, and then buyers step in and we reverse it, then that's a great bullish scenario. If we end up just selling and then making new lows in through here, then to me that's the bear scenario. So those are the two things that I'm watching pretty closely here, just to see if we can get some idea behind what's going to happen. But so the bull scenario, the thing that I would like more than anything else, is just to have maybe even a couple days down and then buyers to step in. I think that is the healthiest thing that could happen in the market, just to show that this wasn't just a short covering rally, it wasn't just a rip, we are now uptrending as opposed to downtrending. When to uptrend, you have to make higher lows. And to
nice little bounce there, guys.
So
I might take a trade on this and just do one of those trades that we talk about, Mike, all the time, just taking a trade and seeing what happens for the day and living for it. So here it is, guys. I'm actually going to go opposite on the VIX here. I'm going to short a little bit here, looking for a little bounce in the 40s, but I'm short on that. So essentially going long on the market here. So let's see what happens here. I'd look for it to start kind of do a little breakdown. I want to see the SPY candles be strong on the 1 minute, big bars versus the small bars that we've been seeing, and starting to take back resistance on the 5 minutes, right? And so we'll see what happens there. Next spot, 574, that I'll be watching to see if we can get to there on the 1 minutes. Look how the 1 minute candles are getting a little bit bigger on the SPY. That's what I want to see. So big candles on the upside showing me reversals from that 573. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I like that, right? Because we're in a very binary moment, it feels like right now, where that level that we've been talking about for the last couple of days, clear resistance, right? That's the fourth time we've rejected from it. So the trade is either you took the short off that level, and then you've got a stop in there at that break even or a little bit above, and you're just saying, okay, I don't think we break that level today. Or you're saying this pullback is just kind of that other, it takes multiple attempts often to get through these major levels. So could just be one of those where we just pulled it back a little bit just to give us the runway we needed to get through that zone. And if we get through that zone, then all bets are off, in my opinion. We could see a nice rally into the end of the day. And it could just start with getting above yesterday's low. Right? Yesterday's low was right here, 573.70. We get through that and we hold through yesterday's low. That to me is a very interesting one where I thought, okay, we finally got the move in through here. VRT, I'm still watching. I think that would be kind of my only trade today. I am going to go through my numbers and go through a handful of the trades that I've taken and just see what happens if these happen right off the open versus what they happen later in the day. That's, again, stats that you should look at when you're building a strategy is when, not only is the strategy successful, when's the strategy successful. And what I imagine it's going to do is it's going to dramatically lower the amount of trades I take on this. But I think potentially it happening later in the day is going to be even better, because you see how this one spent. If you use a 5 or a 10-minute chart or whatever, we can do 5. It's most common. It never broke through VWAP all day on a closing basis. So getting this to close later in the day is very interesting. And again, an easy trade to make where all you got to do, because we have a mobile app, click the button and say, hey, once per bar close, I want it crossing up over VWAP. You hit the button, and there's the alert. So if the VWAP breaks the upside, great. It'll alert me on my phone. I'll open up the app. I'll take the trade. Stop the low of the day. Then if it grinds up all day, that's just fantastic.
All right, guys, about to go break even. There you guys have it. Break even now. Looking for the win in the VXX. Not looking to make a ton. I'd like the break of 46 going to 45.70s. But right now, even could take some profits into like the 45.89s. Not looking too bad here. Now break even on this. Only 200 shares. Nothing crazy. Just trying to make a step up. Remember, I just got back above break even here on the account. And one of the major things is now trying to build a cushion on this account. So on a day like today, I have green. I have $30. I could risk that, but I don't even want to risk that. I'm just looking to make a little bit more and keep the account going, guys. A little base hit here to end the day would be a nice little move. It's 10:54. Don't need to push too much. Just need to see if it can continue to go. And I have the stop place. That's another thing too, right? Like no matter what, I'm not losing on this position. I have it $5 in the green, just to pretty much give myself the kind of the fees and just in case it just comes back there. But really, it's just looking for this now to like kind of keep on that downside action, right? So we'll see what happens here. You guys can see it right on the chart, how I have it set up there. And what I'm looking for is to break 46. As soon as I start breaking 46, I can put out a target profit into that area. $70 to $80 would be a nice little gain for this 200 shares. Let's see what happens.
Well, yeah, and again, the way that was described, I think, is perfect for what I'm planning on doing with these long-term intraday swings, right? Where the idea is that, okay, we're going to come up and we're going to watch this first hour and a half of the day, the 2 hours, including the pre-market open. And in that time frame, using a longer-term chart, you come up with your game plan, you try to get a good entry point, and like Mitch was saying, take half off and then he could just leave the stop out with half off, and then money is made, and then you leave yourself open for the asymmetric gain of this thing just ripping for the rest of the day, right? There's that potential. It's going to be a fairly rare potential. It's just stopped out there, but
Yeah, right
if you
back
can
to
get
it.
to if you can get to that point where you're setting up that potential for just a massive asymmetric gain, then all you have to do is you have to survive the little tiny paper cuts you're going to take throughout. Every now and then you'll just blow one out of the water and be really, really happy for it.
And the candles got smaller on the SPY there as it was getting towards the 574s. Could not even get back to that level, just rejecting any type of action that could sustain. So one of the things that I'm seeing also is the XLIs on the breakout mode and breakdown mode, and so is the financials, looking to see if they can recover. Because if those go back to the green, that's when I think we could make that stronger pushback. So I could get back into the trade here. It's all about just kind of how many times you want to get in, get out, get in, get out, right? It wasn't looking too bad today, guys. I'm just probably going to call it quits. I'm not up much today. It's nothing. It's 29 bucks, but I'll take what I can get and keep moving, guys. No need to be stressing about it either, because sometimes you'll get to this point where, well, I spent time today. I need to win or lose. No. That's usually a recipe for disaster in your mind. And there's a reason why, because you are spending time, and time is money. So that feeling is normal to feel it. Now, another thing is this the best opportunity for me to make cash, right? And I felt I had the trade there. Nice setup, nice risk, set, gun. If it doesn't work out, just let it go, man. Let it go. Sometimes you'll look back and be like, well, that was the best trade there, and maybe it should have left a little bit of risk. But on a day like today, the uncertainty is high, and it's a smaller pullback, looking to see if there's a bigger pullback in the works. We'll see what happens there, guys. A lot of back and forth, slop chop. Now, energy starting to come down there. XLI starting to come down there. And I'll continue to watch the financials. Those look a little bit better because they're holding above the 9 EMA. But don't look too great either. And so financials could hold us on today. We'll have to wait and find out, guys. Look how it's right back to that 46.11. So maybe just getting a little stop hunted. Showing my hand, another thing. I showed my hand because in this case, I don't want to lose, guys. I can't risk. Normally, I'm risking there towards the 46.50s. And that's more of that 25-cent risk there. And then I can kind of hold in with just a non-stop loss. I don't like to put the stop loss all the time unless I want to be break even and making sure that I'm protecting myself. So boom, short. I got short at 46.29, 46.20s. Was looking like it was going to break 46. Didn't do it today, guys. All right, that's going to do it for us, guys, at least for me on my trading action. A little back and forth day, but I'll take it, guys. Best trade was on Surge, and it was one that I actually lost some money in the morning, about 20 bucks, and then made some money on the rip out, right? It was just a simple strategy on the hour or 15-minute chart, trying to ride it towards the high, and I didn't get all of it. I sold it into like the 28.70s, but it's made it up there, and then it just came right back down. That's how these can do it to you guys. So paying myself was a good outlook there, and that's what kept me in the green today. Any last comments for the traders out there, Michael?
No, I would just say, hey, we rejected a big level. We're too far from that level for me to take a short on. So now it's just what happens tomorrow for me, right? If we get back through that level today, I think it's too late to take that position trade long unless it happens in the next few minutes, which I doubt. Just more of the, I like the idea. I like the idea that I've been doing. So I'm going to focus more on that. Come up with one or two of these longer term swing trades, intraday swing trades per day. And then just, right, I think it'll be a little bit more fun, probably match my personality a little bit better as well.
Yeah. And it looks like the SPY is holding in a little bit there. We'll see if it gets back above the 574. This is the lunch spot type of day. So go take some lunch, get ready, see what happens in the afternoon. You never know when the trend can change. One of the things that I like to do is really at this point start looking at the hourly charts. So even the 15-minute charts can fool you a little bit now. So those hourly charts will help you just kind of get away from jumping on small action, right? You need big action now to kind of jump out of your seat. And we'll see what happens with that one. Hopes and dreams, like always, we'll just keep pushing along, my friend. Rando, AG, Steph, all you guys, Eldon, all you guys that tuned in today. Appreciate you guys like always. Day Trade with Tony coming in with that VVPR, helping some traders find some trades. That's what we do here, guys. It's not about talking about our trades specifically, but trying to help other traders learn from our strengths and weaknesses. So shout out to everybody that comes by every day. I give you guys a lot of love, and I appreciate you guys coming in here. It really helps us support and grow the channel. We're looking to continue growing. So the number one way you can do that is hit the share button down below. Let other traders know this is the place to be. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow, guys. Another great day. Michael has a great guest for you guys, and I will be going over and dealing with some of the guys on pre-market prep. We're going to be keeping expanding, and the number one way that you guys can help us is also giving us feedback on the show of what you want to see more or less of. We'll be back tomorrow. Keep safe out there, traders. Tough day today, and we'll continue battling. Right here. Trade the pool, guys. Be safe out there.